Let's go ahead and check out the Gibson Modern Lite. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So this is one that's been starting a little bit of controversy online. People are upset about the price tag and the specs being offered, but let's go ahead and check it out because I think these are kind of fun. So, it's a new stripped-down bare-bones guitar within the Modern collection. So if you don't know, Gibson has the original collection and the Modern set. The original is basically trying to give you custom shop for a cheaper price, whereas the Modern, they can have fun, they can do whatever they want. It's supposed to be a modernized take on Gibson's offerings. So previous to the custom color series and this one, there weren't very many options within the Modern that I felt were like truly unique and new, but that seems to be what they're focusing on here in late 2023. But I kind of like these things. They're cool. They come in so many fanciful colors. We're reviewing Inverness Green Satin today, but it also comes in a rose gold satin, cardinal red satin, a nice gold mist satin, and a TV wheat color, which despite not having satin in its name is still a satin finish, don't get confused there. But they're really going for a slimline Les Paul, so kind of like a custom light in a roundabout way, probably actually a little bit thinner, but then they have a little bit of a comfort cut back here. And honestly, feeling it in my hands, it's quite nice. It's very lightweight. I think that's the biggest selling feature to these, is somebody that has a bad back, doesn't want the full 2-inch thickness of a Les Paul. I've seen these range from about 6 to 8 pounds. And yes, you heard me right, 6 pounds. A few of them are actually that light, but most seem to be in that 7-ish pound range. And they want it to be fun because, hey, look, you even got a matching headstock on these. They all have that. It's not just this Inverness green color. And at first, the whole satin finish, I was a little bit scared because there's a lot of different things that you can call a satin finish. And when I saw photos like these showing off the wood grain on the neck, I was kind of scared that it'd be like the really cheap, nasty feeling satin. But now that I have it in person, it's actually very smooth. It's almost like a semi-gloss from the factory. So if you're looking to take one of these and like buff it into a full gloss, I don't think you're going to have any problems with that. If you want some instructions, check out my Les Paul Faded series. In fact, I would say this finish feels a little bit better than those faded standards. It's like a step above. But now we need to drop our price tag on you. It's $14.99, which this is very bare bones. It wasn't that long ago we could get something from Gibson for this like around the $800 to $1,000 mark. And you get the guitar and one of their soft cases, which if you haven't seen one of these before, it's basically like a really deluxe gig bag. I'm sure these are plenty fine if you're doing the whole gigging scene. They've got a good inch of padding surrounding it. I mean, are they the best thing in the world? No, but they're miles better than the 90s to early 2018s when they would use this gig bag style. This one has that faux leather look. They used to make these things in brown before they switched over to black. I mean, night and day difference. I really like the handles that are on them. And you also have the backpack straps on the back, additional storage back here, as well as a zippered compartment. But do we get any case candy? We get a cheapy strap and a Gibson bag, which contains a nice polishing cloth, warranty information, Gibson app. Baby photos have been discontinued, but I'm surprised to see this. They actually give you a poker chip if you want it to look a little bit more traditional. And no multi-tool at this range, but at least you get a truss rod adjustment and an Allen wrench. And our Gibson owner's manual. When these were first leaked, I was pretty excited. However, when you start to compare these to other guitars within Gibson's catalog, they just don't seem all that attractive. Like $200 more, you can get a full-on Les Paul Studio that has the gloss finish. It'll have a thicker mahogany body with the maple top. And that might actually be the better deal. Or for only $300 more, you can get a full-on Gibson SG with one of their new custom colors with the gloss finish. And while it's certainly not fair to compare to used offerings because, you know, new guitars have a different thing going for them, if this price tag is just not obtainable to you and you want something relatively similar, I would suggest seeking out a 2014 Gibson Melody Maker. It has a very similar finish to it. Now, those actually did still retain the maple top, so that's kind of cool. They don't have the fancy colors, but I really like those because that's a Melody Maker that still has the full style headstock. And generally those are between like what, $800 to $1,200 nowadays. So you're going to save a little bit there. But if you go all the way back to the 90s, there was a thing called the Paul 2. I would say that is probably the closest thing spec wise. Again, you're not going to get the fancy finish, and I believe those are gloss, but those were part of the All-American series, and they're relatively affordable and unwanted on the used market at this point in time. But for the rest of our demo today, we're not going to compare it to anything. Let's give it its chance to shine and see what it does well or bad, and throw it on that workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs before we get to that playing demo. Inside our green little friend here. Honestly, I'm surprised. Why did they even bother to put pick guards on these? I think they look pretty decent without one, but there were a few surprises with our pickups as well. So when these things were first leaked, I fully expected PCB system with quick connect. However, looking right here, we actually just had the regular braided wiring, so that likely means we have hand-wired pots, but we'll have to check. There's the 490R in the neck. In the 498T in the bridge, it also has the same braided wiring. They are uncovered from the factory, as they're going for that whole blacked out vibe with the plastics pickups, and here's what it looked like if you threw the poker chip on there. Honestly, I think the gold lettering stands out a little bit too much. It should have been silver to match all the chrome hardware, so we'll stick that back in the case. But our pickups within the circuit read 13.9 in the bridge, 7.86 in the neck, and the middle just for fun, about 5. Here's what that neck pickup cavity route looks like, and about the same thing for our bridge pickup cavity. And we can actually see a seam line right here, so it's at least a 2-piece mahogany body. But I really want to emphasize here that this still has a carved top to it. It's not like a Les Paul Special or a Junior where it's a slab mahogany body. They still gave it that little bit of a dish carve. So we talked about the 2014 Melody Makers a little bit ago, but holding this and strumming it a little bit, it feels exactly like one of those, with a little bit of a different spec choice and flair. Although I would make the argument that the 2014s felt just a little bit more smooth because maple in general doesn't have as much wood grain to feel. But you can see some of the mahogany wood grain through this, and some of them have like that little ribbon flame to the body. So if you ever see like some unevenness within the finish, that's probably what that is. It's just the wood grain underneath. It's kind of a cool effect, but definitely gives the guitar kind of a cheap-ish vibe to it. That's not always a bad thing though. You were wondering what that mystery Allen wrench in the case was for the Nashville studs. They can actually fit in there and you can adjust your bridge that way, which helps you if you just need to make like a minor adjustment when it's already strung up, or if you want a more exact setup, like I have to have 8.5 turns on this one, and then you can memorize it as your setup for this guitar or something. The bridge is lightweight aluminum done up by API, that you can see the branding right there, and the same lightweight aluminum for your tailpiece, same company. Here's a look at our knobs, it's just the black styles. But if you're like me and you dig the no pickguard vibe, and unfortunately you are going to have to live with that screw hole. But just how thick are these? That's gonna vary depending on where you take it. I measure about 1.38 inches in this area. Directly by the heel it's 1.44. So I'd imagine it's about 1.5 at the direct center. That's probably about the biggest. But remember, you've got your comfort cuts, so in that area it's just a little bit over an inch. Now let's move on from our mahogany body. We've got the mahogany neck with the rosewood fretboard. We've got the acrylic dot inlays. And this board's actually pretty nice. It darkened up a little bit more when I conditioned it, but it wasn't too bad straight out of the box. But you've got 22 frets on this one with a 24 3/4 inch scale, standard 12-inch fretboard radius. If you want compound, you have to step up to the true Les Paul Modern. I get a 1.69 inch nut width, increasing to 2.07 by the 12, 0.83 first fret neck depth. And at the 11th, 0.91. Here it is at the 1st fret and the 12th fret. Nice rounded C-shaped neck, but it is on the slimmer side. I think here's another way that Gibson could have differentiated these, but at the same time, they probably would have scared a lot of the potential buyers. What if you make these like the Goddess series and make the nut width very slim for people who have smaller hands? Because then this would fill a certain niche that it's not already going towards, besides just being cool colors. Or maybe they could do a limited edition of them, because there are people that like guitars out there. It's not your standard, just an idea that I had, but small QC issue. There's a little bit of overspray over here on our fretboard. It's mostly apparent right there. You just got that like metallic bluish green color. Now we move on to the face of the headstock. We've got the black Les Paul model silkscreen with the matching logo. You can see our truss rod right here and our blank black cover, single ply. It still uses the phenolic headstock cap veneer, as you can see the area that doesn't have the wood grain versus the neck that does. So they must do that to get the proper thickness for the headstock. Or they want a nice clean even slate here and not have the mahogany wood pour. But I think that would have been cool at the same time, but it'd probably make your logos and stuff look weird. Moving on to the back, it's the moment of truth. I was surprised, but yeah,
hand-wired pots. That seems kind of odd, because I thought, the modern collection was all about utilizing the PCBs. Not complaining, though. That's a nice little bonus feature that most people probably didn't know about these. The downside being, if you don't like the pickups in here and you're not familiar with soldering, you're going to have to pay a tech to do that for you. Now, being part of the modern collection, I don't really fully understand why we don't have some sort of like a coil splitting or something on here, but maybe that's the trade-off of having the hand-wired pots. And I don't expect the fancy in and out of phase and direct to bridge, but I think a coil split would have been nice, so we could point to something else that goes, yeah, it's special because of this as well. But since the pickups are only 2-conductor, you don't even have the option to do that. You'd have to completely swap out your pickups and your pots if you wanted that as an option. And here's what that toggle switch cavity looks like. Over here you can see our very light comfort cut. And then we've got a large strap button at the top, as well as over here on the bottom. And the rest of the body has that same open pore finish. So be warned, these are very prone to impressions, buckle marks, other wormings from like jean rivets and everything. So if you don't like that vibe, be careful. These are delicate finishes. Also, as you play it, it'll naturally buff up into more of a glossy look. That'll become especially prevalent right here where your arm rests. But again, this is more so closer to almost a semi-gloss in my opinion, so I don't think the effects will be as drastic on some like really bare bones finishes. But here you can see the mahogany used for the body. It's got very wide wood grain. It doesn't go very deep. But the next wood grain, maybe it's just due to how they have to sand it and shape it, it goes a lot deeper and it seems to be a lot closer together. So you do feel this when you're trying to feel it, and it varies area to area. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily distracting. This is another high traffic area where it's going to instantly gloss over and then you're not even going to notice any of that. Honestly, it's a good feel. It's like you're playing raw wood, which might sound like a bad thing, but the guitar does feel like it's going to be very resonant. But straight off the SG Modern, they have the Mini Grovers on here for some reason. Their serial number dates to 2023, 226th day of the year, initial batch, production number 233, made in USA. All said and done, this is one of those light ones, 6 pounds, 2.5 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. It's incredibly lightweight. It almost feels like there's nothing on you, so there's a nice aspect there. And yeah, it's got a cool color to it. I found that bridge pickup was just a little bit too close to the strings and was kind of farting out earlier on in the demo, so I lowered that a tad. That helped with that, but I really like this juiciness of the neck pickup. Now that we know all about the new Gibson Les Paul Modern Lite, what are my final thoughts? It's nice and lightweight, it's pretty, it's got decent tones. However, is it going to be for everybody? No, it is kind of expensive for what you are being offered. Many times you're probably better off with one of those really higher end Epiphones if you're looking for something a little bit more spec'd out. But if you have to have a Gibson USA Les Paul and this is all your budget will afford you, it's a mighty fine guitar. Honestly, it feels a lot better than I was expecting it to. I think this will definitely more so appeal to the demographic that likes the really lightweight guitars. And, you know, at the same time, it's cool. You can get a Les Paul that's all mahogany that still has the slight carved top to it. These are going to be a great value in the future on the used market when they start to come down in price. Or maybe you'll find one on sale at a shop or in the mod collection or demo shop. What is the fate of this one? Actually, a viewer of the show, New Guitar Date, this, and he's sending it off to be refinished. So maybe we'll catch up with this one at a later date at the end of an unboxing episode or something to see what it ends up looking like. Should be a fun project. But alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed my review of this new model. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.
If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.